One of the realities of dealing with Israel and Gaza and the region, because it's all jumbled up together, is that it is not easy. It's complicated. It's a very complicated global challenge and one of the most intractable of all foreign policy efforts. And I spent many more years as a senator on the Foreign Relations Committee and as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. I went many a time to conferences there, met with King Abdullah, with Bibi, who I've known for a long time. And I pursued that peace process while Bibi was the prime minister and I was Secretary of State, and learned an awful lot that you only can learn by being on the ground and feeling the tensions and the dynamics of the region. But I begin any conversation about that by saying this. I've seen a lot of things. I saw war, as Dean mentioned. Through the years, I've seen abuses of human rights, civil rights, and so forth. What happened on October 7th is one of the most grisly, depraved, horrendous, inexcusable, frantic, racist, just deeply disturbing events that I've ever seen. What happened to women, particularly. And I don't want to go into all the details, but you know them, I hope. You should, because it's critical to understand where a very legitimate fury comes from. That said, there is a fury that has grown up through the years of disappointment in the West Bank and on the Oslo Accords and on the constant promises and on the corruption that has existed within the PA. And of course, Hamas is a terrorist organization and refuses to behave as one would want. And so it's very complicated. And then you have a further complication, which most people are not aware of. And I ran headlong into this. The religious right in Israel has gained a power that it didn't have previously. And they are, and I brought this to President Obama's attention. I actually put together a series of maps because nobody had put them together and nobody could see what was happening. But Israel has had a tension for years. I remember talking to Prime Minister Shimon Peres about it, and to Rabin when he was alive and so forth. There's just always been a tension in Israeli society over that religious right and its goals. And the goals have transformed over the last years. When the Oslo Accords were put in place, the population of settlers in the West Bank was about 100,000, somewhere in that vicinity. The population today is close to 500,000. And even during the war, during this war, right now, Prime Minister Netanyahu announced 13,000 plus new settlements. What's that all about? Well, I'll tell you what a lot of us have divined it is all about. It is all about the ultimate annexation and plans for the implementation of the greater Judea-Samaria that people on the right believe in. And the peace movement has been crippled over the last years to some degree in Israel. I remember I had a wonderful dinner with Shimon Peres about a month before, 3 weeks before he passed away, alone in his house in Jerusalem. And he raised a glass at the end of the meal and drank a toast. And he said, I want to drink to peace, which I know you're pursuing and I pursued so hard. I want to drink to peace, and I want to tell you, when Israel was formed and in the beginning of all of our travails, the mandate for the Palestinians was 49% of the land. He said, this is Prime Minister of Israel. He said, we are now at 21%. I believe we have enough. Pretty powerful. And unfortunately, not enough people share that belief. And people, on the right refuse to call what's happening in the West Bank an occupation. It is an occupation. There's no other word to call it. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And they run everything. And the Palestinians don't have the right to make any decision. I remember when I came in and we were negotiating to try to get to a peace, we had an agreement to open the Allenby Bridge 24/7. We had an agreement to be able to put a Watania communications system in. We had an agreement to be able to to build a housing, and the housing was built, but no access road was ever built, so you couldn't get to the housing. The Allenby Bridge has never been open for 24/7. So I'm just sharing with you, this is complicated because nefariously, under the table, sometimes directly, there's a constant process of each side pursuing its goals on the ground by themselves.